Hello and welcome to episode 3 of how to become a better fly tyer. Today we will do the Mayfly Dun. I bet you have been longing for this maybe. Yeah. But the Mayfly Dun, that is what we mostly think of when we think of mayflies. Yeah, because Mayfly Duns is often what we see and often what we fish with. Because yeah, it's easiest to see the Mayfly Dun when we're out by the water and we see these mayflies emerging or hatching. Then we always, or most of the time, we choose to fish with a Mayfly Dun. So today we will tie and check the materials for some Mayfly Duns and what to think about when you're tying these kind of flies, depending if you are fishing a faster stream current or fishing still water, slow running water. What to think about how to tie the fly so it will be presented the best as possible for the fish also. And also, yeah, of course, all the materials, stuff like that to think about and how to fish these flies. Mayflies, they are the adult state of the mayfly. Nymph, emerger, crippled, dun. Yeah, we will take this in order if you have checked other videos, of course. Those are kind of popular for most fish, depending where and how and when and what kind of species, because some species they can be on the water for a long time and then the fish feed on them. But that is also something to do with the weather, how long it takes for the Mayfly Dun to dry up their wings and fly away. That is what to think about. Some coffee. Because if it's very warm and sunny and dry, it takes just a few seconds for them to dry up the wings. If they're rainy, a little bit damp weather, a little bit cloudy, then it will take longer time for the mayfly wings to dry up, and the fish will be staying, not the fish, but the mayflies will stay on the water longer and of course become food for the fish. And this is some species of mayflies, they are longer on the water and some are not. They will fly away kind of fast. That is things to think about. I mean, if you're fishing a lot, I would say stay and see how the flies act, how they present themselves and where they present themselves and how, stuff like that. Then you will become a better fly fisher also, but also a better fly tyer, of course, because you have to include some materials to have the mayfly laying either like a little more down in the surface or higher up, or in the faster current and stuff like that. But we will talk about this also when we're tying the flies. I rarely fish Mayfly Duns. When I do, it's in very, very fast water actually. But there's one time I love to fish Mayfly Duns, and that is when the Baetis is emerging early in the season or late in the season. Then the Mayfly Dun is perfect. So I will also show you this fly and how to tie it. But that is most of the time the only time I fish Mayfly Duns, because like I said, the Mayfly Dun is most often not sitting on the water for a very long time. They are actually drying their wings and then flying up to the nearest tree or so, and then waiting for the what to call it? Is it not spawning? Yeah, but when they will have some fun with each other and create more mayflies. The spinner states sort of when they are mating, and then of course falling down on the water. But yeah, in faster water a lot of the mayflies is actually going with these currents kind of fast, and there will be a little splash of waters, so they will actually stay longer on this faster water. And then I like to fish kind of big Mayfly Duns with a big with a good flotation. That is nice. But when I'm fishing this Baetis pale morning Duns in this blue-winged olives in this really slow water, most of the time I want a really nice delicate fly, smaller, and want it to be presented so the fish can like, okay, this looks nice, I will eat it. So that is also what to think about when you're tying different kind of Mayfly Duns, how you want them to be presented in the water, on the surface and stuff like that. And yeah, some stuff like that. And like we do, we start with the hooks, of course. I always tie my Mayfly Duns on a straight hook. If I don't have a detached body, like when I fish this big drake mayflies, like Vulgata Danica, which we have here in Sweden, then I have a detached body of foam. Then I always use a bent hook, a curved hook, a curved dry fly hook or something like that. But when I tie all the other Mayfly Duns, I use a straight hook, either a short shank or a longer, doesn't matter. But depending what you will match the hatch, what you will tie, what kind of Mayfly Dun you will imitate. So a straight hook, that is what I like to use. And about threads and stuff like that, use a thinner thread because you won't build up the body too much. I use either like a 12/0 or a 16/0 normal thread, or I use these nano silk threads. Then you can go from 18/0 down to 24/0 or something like that, because they don't build up so much. And tails, all Mayfly Duns have tails, and depending on what species, what kind of Mayfly Dun, what kind of depending what they are, it depends how many tail fibers or tail they have. Some have 2, some have 3. That is one or another. And for that I use this, I know we have talked about it before, but this is a painting brush with a lot of fibettes. You can buy normal fibettes and in a bag also, of course. But this is really nice, and you will get a lot of this, and very cheap, of course. If not, I use moose mane. This is perfect for tails, especially for a little bit bigger flies like Donica, Vulgatas and stuff like that, big drake mayflies. Or else I use Coq de Leon for almost like 90% of my flies. This is a really nice feather which has a little like barred fibers, which is really sexy for the tails. Especially you don't have to be that careful to take one or two. You will take most likely like 10, 20, stuff like that, depending what kind of fly you are tying, stuff like that. For body, I like to have Duns, the Mayfly Dun. When they emerge from the cripple or the emergent state, they have a kind of thick body. So don't be afraid to build up a kind of okay, thicker body. Sometimes I use like biot strips, which you can buy and use, but not much, because the biots they will not help to make the fly float higher. So I prefer to use synthetic dubbings or actually natural dubbings. So most of the time I use this superfine dubbing, which is perfect for smaller flies. Then when you're tying slightly bigger flies, I either use Senu laser dub or actually bruiser blend also, which is really nice. And also some either a squirrel or like hare's ear dub, stuff like that, which is nice for slightly bigger flies, because yeah, you can brush it out and use those legs and stuff like that. But superfine is really nice for these smaller Mayfly Duns, like we talked about the blue-winged olives, pale morning duns, stuff like that, tricos. And then when I tie like yellow Mayfly Duns or like the brown ones, I preferably use actually either the laser dub or bruiser blend. Sometimes also superfine for that, but also these snowshoe rabbit foot dubbing or beaver dry fly dubbing, stuff like that is perfect for Mayfly Duns, to have them build up this little bit thicker body as the Mayfly Duns have when they have emerged and hatched. That is what to think about. When they become spinners, they have really thin, delicate bodies because they don't have any energy or food and stuff like that in their body. They are not filled up. They are about to die, so they are really thin. Yeah. And about the wings, wings and hackle. For the wings, I use most of the time only two materials, and that is either CDC, Queue de Canard, which is perfect for all kind of Mayfly Duns, depending of size. Sometimes I use like this sparkle and merger yarn or poly yarn, which is nice because you can like put a lot of fat to it and stuff like that, so it will hold up, and it's kind of visible to see it also. Sometimes I also use like spinning or deer hair for the wings, not often, sometimes, and sometimes I also use snowshoe rabbit feet, and then it's important that you use on this side, because this has a lot of fat to it, so it's kind of similar to CDC actually. This is more for maybe legs and stuff to dub with, but this on this side, which is normally a little bit darker, this is good for tailing and also wing material. And about hackles, dry fly hackles, use cock hackles, rooster hackles, not any type of hen. You can use it, but then you need to know that it's a softer hackle that will maybe go through the surface easier. A cock or rooster hackle will hold up the fly kind of better actually. And then you can either use a cape and a saddle. That is what the stores have online to sell. The thing is like this: cape hackles. This is good if you tie a lot of different flies, but here is a feather tapered. So when you tie in the feather, it will first have long hackles, long fibers, and then when you tie it in, the hackle fibers will be shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. But with a saddle hackle, you will have the same length of any fibers from the start to the beginning of the feather, and they are really long. You can have the cape hackles are kind of short. They are like between this and this, and you maybe can use 50% of a cape feather. A saddle feather, you can use the full length, and they can be all from like 40 to 60 centimeters. So when you're tying with a cape hackle, you maybe will have 2 flies if you're lucky. With 1 feather from a saddle, you will maybe tie 10, maybe even more, depending how many turns you will do with the hackle. Yeah, so that is what I would recommend is saddle. They are kind of more expensive, but if you're tying a lot of flies, I will buy a saddle. If you only tie different flies with different sizes, maybe I would actually then buy a cape instead, because then you can use feathers from the whole cape. Smaller flies like 24, 22, and then 16, 18, 14, 12, and 10, 8, depending on how much you use of the cape. Okay, so let's start with the fly tying of the Mayfly Duns and what to think about. We will start with the bigger fly. This is what I call like a big river dun, which I mostly fish in faster water. It's a sort of a big attractor mayfly, and fish they love it. But it's still kind of natural. It's like a mix in color of it. I tie it always gray, because at some way I have tried different things, but they actually love the gray one. So this is a size 10 hook, and here for the tail I either use Coq de Leon or moose mane, and normally a mayfly maybe have like 3 of this, but I take kind of many, and then I will try to put them all together in some way. So you can use this hair stacker for this. So I have like, this is probably 10-15 of this, and I don't tie it too long. I just want this to give an extra flotation for the fly, so I will tie it sort of half of the body length of the fly. I do this also because of another reason, and that is because sometimes these fall off and you want to have quite many as an extra, like that. And when I've tied in this, I will actually start with tying in the wing. For this I use CDC like I always do. And I take two kind of bigger feathers. You can also use more than two if you want to. But yeah, I think it's okay and enough to just use two actually. And I take them and put them next to each other like this, like I turn them side by side. So when you tie this in, you will have them facing outwards, and that is good because when you're fishing the fly and when you're casting it, it will help the fly to land properly. So I prefer to always tie them out like this. And here, when I tied this fly, I'm not scared of actually having too long wings, too big wings, because you want to see this fly also in the water. And then I go around the stems of this, kind of not too hard, because if you do it too hard you will just have the thread going over. So kind of soft, and then when you have a little structure you can do it a little bit harder if you want to. And then for the body I will use this grayish snowshoe rabbit foot dubbing, which I think normal gray, Adams gray, you can use superfine, squirrel, rabbit foot dubbing, or Senu laser dub in the color gray. Gray is like, it's my go-to color for this specific fly of the Mayfly Dun. So, now you think the fly is done. No, it's not. But, as you can see, this is a perfect tapered body. And now we will just whip finish here. And then we will turn the hook in the vise like this. And then, since we have a kind of structure of the stems here, we tie in the thread. If you have this a good structure of that, it will hold up even when you turn the hook like this. If you don't have the structure, the thread will fall off. And here we will do a parachute tackle. That's why I've tied the fly like this. A parachute tackle is good because it gives a lot of structure and flotation to the fly, especially in faster water. I rarely don't fish parachute flies, but in this case I do it just because of that. It gives a really good flotation. And normally I tie like 2 wraps, 2 turns with the hackle, but now I prefer to do at least like 4. And here is also another tip. Use a hackle that is slightly longer, because that will give an extra flotation. 2, 3, 4. That is enough. For me, hackle is just showing, giving legs to the fly most of the time, not flotation. But in this case, it's for me flotation, because the fish, they only see the profile of this fly really fast. So that is why I want a fly that have a lot of flotation to it, so I can fish it in this faster water. And here I use a super glue or a varnish for the fly to put this so it will hold up, because I only do like 2 whip finishes, and then I use a little varnish or super glue, doesn't matter. So this is the Big River Dun, one of my favorite Mayfly Dun imitations to fish, to tie and fish for faster water, faster current. So let's go and tie one of my absolute favorite small Mayfly Duns, the blue-winged olive or Baetis. I will tie this on a size 14. Normally I tie this in 16 and 18, but mostly almost 16. But in the springtime they can actually be a little bit bigger, larger, so then size 14 is kind of good. Here I use a thinner thread. This is a Semperfli Nano Silk 18/0, which is a nice thread because it doesn't build up so much volume to the hook, and it's very strong, and yeah, it's a nice, really nice thread. For the tail here, I either use this the painting brush I showed you before, those fibettes, those fibers on this nylon fibers of that one, but I actually prefer to use most of the time Coq de Lion. That is like my favorite tailing material. Nymphs, mayflies, stuff like that, I love it. And here you don't need to be afraid to use too many. Instead you should be afraid to use too less. And here I also like kind of measure out so you don't have too long fibers, because yeah, I rarely use too long fibers, but like half the body length. The Mayfly Dun state of the Mayfly, the Dun state, they actually have not very long, a very long tail, not like the spinner. So when I tie it in, I always do a little wrap under, because then you will have a little spread of the tail fibers like this, which is really nice, because then the fly will lay better on the surface. And here I actually start with the body directly, because I will sort of mix it up. For this fly I use super fine dubbing all the way through, and I start with a lighter one. This is sort of the normal olive. Perfect. So I tie in to the body like 2/3 of the fly, and then I will actually tie in the wing. In this case also CDC. This is called a no hackle Mayfly, because this fly only has the CDC as a wing, no hackle, not anything else except the CDC. That is why it's called a no hackle mayfly. So I tie them in like this. You don't have to care so much about these yet, you just cut them off and tie them down. And this is the thorax of the fly. Here I prefer to use a slightly darker dubbing. In this case this is a blue-winged olive color of the superfine, but you can use whatever. Just think about using two different colors, because it gives a little, I don't think it really matters, but for me it gives a little sexiness to the fly, and then I believe more of the fly, and maybe also the fish likes it. So I go in the front like this, and then I pull this back. I will use a little bit more dubbing to build up a little thicker thorax. Then you can spread the feathers a little bit, but there is one of my favorite flies, but I prefer it, like I said, in 16, 18, but 14 is also a nice nice size to have a few of, actually. And I tie this in olive and brown, but mostly olive. That is like the top color. Okay, so hope there that you have that I have taught you something new, that you have learned something about how I think about the Mayfly Duns and stuff like that. And when you're out by the water, do some research, look at the mayflies, learn about how the dun state is of the mayfly. If it's like, should I fish it or should I not fish it? Should I use a crippled or a spent spinner, a merger? That is kind of crucial of catching fish. But if I fish the dun mayflies, I fish the big river dun and the blue-winged olive Baiatis dun. Except if I fish for Donica and Vulgatas, then I always fish the dun in lakes and rivers when they hatch in a short period. But these two flies that I showed you now, this is a must-have flies for the box all year. They are super good and super nice. So thanks for watching, and see you soon again.